So welcome everyone to this session. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you, David, for having me here. Today we are going to talk about how to integrate your Azure SQL family into Microsoft Fabric. First, I will introduce myself. I am Gonzalo Bissio from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Actually, I am a data platform MVP, and I work as a data and AI lead. Basically, today we are going to cover different ways on how to integrate Azure SQL database, Azure SQL MI. I will show you a video for SQL Server because today, for example, for mirroring, it's in preview, in private preview. I went to the FabCon in Las Vegas last month, and one of the announcements was that the product team is working to integrate SQL Server on premises and in Azure VMs, and obviously other cloud providers into Microsoft Fabric. As of now, it's in private preview. Obviously, you know that SQL 2025 is in private preview as well. And so I will show you some videos on how this will be implemented. Today's data and analytic challenges obviously is, for example, eliminate silos, scale different data architectures, reduce cost and efforts, obviously, because we are going to see some of the features that improves, I would say, development time, because I would say that ETL per se will not be required. Some configuration tasks will be needed for that. But basically, the idea is to reduce the times that takes to move data from one side to another one and lands, obviously, in Microsoft Fabric. Basically, this is what we have today. I assume that, for example, you are using availability group replicas in order to offload your reads operations. You have different data teams today. It depends if you are, for example, doing different data architectures, such as, I don't know, data mesh, and you are, sharing the information between different domains. And so the integration obviously is one of the most difficult tasks when you are moving data because of schemas, because of different sources on premises, cloud, SQL Server versions. I assume that you saw or you are seeing. I mean, normally I talk about past, but sometimes you are still seeing SQL, I would say 2008 R2 in production. I would not say 2005 or 2000, but sometimes, integrating stuff is critical. And so, having said that, we have the different SQL version, I would say, in the cloud. We have, the new ones, which is SQL Server 2025, that was released in November. And it's in private preview. We are waiting for the public preview, we hope soon. We have the entire Azure SQL family, which is Azure SQL Database, Azure SQL MI, or SQL Server in Azure VMs. We have the newest SQL databases in Fabric that were released, in Microsoft Ignite back in November. And then we have different tools. We have AI, we have data agents that, if you heard about the concept of the, before it was AI skills, right now it's been called data agents. On the Fabric conference, this particular feature was changed. And then we have Fabric. This is a new, between quotes, platform. This became GA more or less since 1 year and some months, more or less. We have different experiences in Fabric. I assume that you saw this slide 300 times. And you heard about the introduction, about the platform itself, the different experiences. the different roles inside the same platform. Like if you are a data engineer, a data scientist, if we work with data visualization, if we work with governance or security. Probably you heard about the One Lake Security new feature released in Falcon. So obviously, if you're a data analyst, you have data agents, you have Power BI, real-time data. One of another announcements was to include more networking protocols to move data into real time, things that you may heard on the different sessions. I mean, so, and you have this feature, one of the new features in Fabric. Here you have some of the new mirroring sources like SQL Server, as I mentioned before, or SQL Server 2025. They are in private preview, so I will not show those, but you know that they are coming. There is a QR code if anyone is interested. I can send you just to join the private preview for SQL 2025 and the mirroring. Otherwise, you have other sources. Today, I'm going to show you the SQL DB and the Azure SQL MI, which is in preview. Some stuff that you need to take in consideration as of today for Azure SQL MI because, well, I will explain you later. And other sources like Databricks, Snowflake. Well, also, I assume that you heard about the announcement of the iceberg thing that you will be able to see Fabric tables within Snowflake and the same Fabric, the iceberg tables in Fabric. The idea will be to have the same table in both sides. It's an integration that the teams are working on. Again, Fabric. This is one of the ways that we have to replicate, between quotes, real-time or near real-time data from the different sources into Fabric. Basically, no ETL, some configurations that you need to do in order to, accomplish this. The idea will be, I will show you the internals in a few, but the idea will be using change feed in order to track the changes, insert, update, and deletes, even though change feed is not supporting deletes in Azure Cosmos DB. The idea here will be supporting the delete statement and then move the changes directly into OneLake. What is OneLake? Well, it's the layer of storage for Microsoft Fabric, the place where everything is saved. And you can replicate, I would say, near real time because it is not automatically. It will take a couple of seconds just to move the data and see the data reflected on the destination. And if you say real time, that will be a double write. If I write here, automatically I will write on the other side. But if for you real time means 2 or 3 seconds, well, it's real time. Otherwise, it will be near real time. So let's go to the internals. Basically, what is happening behind bars, the feature itself, because you know that, for example, let's say that you are using change data capture today in SQL Server. Basically, what you do is just to create an initial snapshot of the table, you move the data, and then you enable change data capture in order to move the changes that are happening on the table from one side to another one. That is how it works. You can do this, for example, using, I don't know, some tools, or you can do this directly doing the queries and moving the data from one side to another one. And here it will be the same idea, but the thing is, everything will happen automatically. Fabric will do the work for you. One of the questions that I receive all the time is, hey, what will be the cost of using mirroring? Well, the thing is, mirroring is free. In terms of, obviously, performance and storage and all that stuff, everything is included as of now. I don't know what will happen in the future, but as of today, you can use mirroring for free. Important thing, what will happen is when you enable this, you will see what is called a SQL endpoint and a mirror item within Microsoft Fabric. I will show you in some demos, but the thing is, you will see an additional item within your workspace And then you will see that there will be a mirror database, which is the database that will be receiving the changes, and you will be able to query, besides the semantic model, obviously, for that particular item. An initial snapshot will happen, and then all the changes will be replicated. So you will be able to use the SQL endpoint in order to get information or query information, etc., etc. As I mentioned before, SQL Server on premises, other cloud providers, SQL in VMs in Azure is in private preview. So in fact, I tried it because I saw that, well, probably you heard about the Synapse migration as well. And I saw that the Synapse migration was enabled on my tenant. And I said, hey, maybe I have the SQL Server. No, I don't have it. I tried it, but I don't have it. At least I will show you in a few how this works in Azure SQL Database and Azure SQL MI. Let's go to the other one. This one is for SQL Server. This is what's happening for SQL Server on-prem, cloud, etc., etc. Basically, I think that you heard about the data gateway on premises for Microsoft Fabric, for example. If you want to use a pipeline and you want to move data from on-premises to Fabric, you need to use this data gateway. You need to install it the same, for example, that you were using for Data Factory or Power BI. Hey, I need to move data from on-premises to the cloud itself. I need to use something. Well, that something here will be the data gateway. This one is internal, how this one is happening. Obviously, everything in Fabric is built on Delta tables, which is the open source format used for the tables itself. And so that you are seeing this conversion itself. This service is converting everything to Delta tables. So then you can query or you can do joins from your warehouse or lakehouse into these new tables that come from SQL Server. Here you have a table that compares the different methods that, that the service itself is using today between SQL Server 2016, 2022, and the other ones. I will send this to David so he can forward this in case that you want to see this. But basically, we have the change field method for SQL 2025 or Azure SQL, and then in lower versions, change data capture is being used, meaning that change data capture will impact, let's say, the transaction log, because basically SQL Server is writing the records for the table itself, but also for CDC. So you need to take care on the number of transactions happening on your system. You need to monitor your transaction log in order to see what will the impact on your system, the same for CPU, etc., etc., etc. Obviously the agent, because change data capture use two jobs, the cleanup and the capture, and it will be, you know, doing the job behind bars in order to get the changes and insert those changes. And well, the on-premise data gateway, I explained this before. This is the agent or the entity being used to move data from on-premises or cloud providers to Azure. Here, the idea will be for 2025. This is what is being developed. Basically, and here it will be used the Arc agent machine or the Arc agent for this newer version. We will see this in the future, how this works, etc., etc. But I want to show you this, how it's working today, so you have at least the internals on how this will work. Basically, I mean, I will skip the videos because I want to show you real demos. Because here you will see the SQL 2025. I have the database. Basically, I am going to do the exact same thing for Azure SQL database. So I will move forward. So then I will show you. Then if you are interested, I will just show you this, but it will work the exact same thing as I'm going to show you in Azure SQL Database or Azure SQL MI. Before going to the other options, the pipeline, the notebooks, and the data flows, I will start with the fun stuff, which is the demos. If you have any question, just feel free to interrupt me, put the question on the chat, etc., etc. But as of now, let's start with the demos. Dun, dun, dun. So this one is my Fabric environment. I assume that you heard this, but in order to connect to your Fabric environment, fabric.microsoft.com, if you never test Fabric, you can open the Fabric and you can create a free account using your work account. You have a trial for 30 months, extend to 60 months, that you can test everything. Another announcement, amazing announcement, sorry for this, but for me it was amazing, was that we can use Copilot on all of the experiences besides the data agents. And this will start at the end of this month. So another great question. But small thing, this will be only for paid subscription, not for all of them. So be careful with that, because maybe you create a free trial and then you said, hey, I can't use Copilot, and it's because of that. So having said that, this one is my workspace. Here I have different items. Well, here I have a folder, but also I have other items. As you can see here, you will see what I mentioned before. Wait, I have that's it. I have my data agents. This one is new. Before they call AI skills, amazing. I can show you those if you're interested in. And then I have my folder in where I have my items. And then if we want to start, well, first of all, let me show you that important thing, that here I have my Azure SQL DB and my Azure SQL MI. You know that the difference between them here is the small logo. Here, this one is Azure SQL MI, Azure SQL DB. Yeah, I will show you in a few data agents. And also the data agents were introduced they were integrated to AI Foundry. So you can use Azure OpenAI model to use data agent to get your data, everything. And then you can use that code within your application. Amazing. But yeah, I will show you this in a few. So starting this, well, I already have here, but I will show you how to create on the first place, the mirror. So basically what you need to do is click new item. Here you can use the word mirror. And here you have the different flavors. Here you have Azure SQL DB. Here we have Postgres, Cosmos DB, Azure SQL MI, the other one that I'm going to show you, Snowflake. And then here we have the database, which is open mirroring. But let's start with Azure SQL DB. Honestly, it's very quick. The good thing though is that my database is small. So just be careful when you enable this the first time, the initial snapshot that based on the number of records, maybe it takes time to complete the first time. So here I click Azure SQL DB. Then here I put my logical server name. Let me show you very quick. Then I will put my database name. I will put another one. Let's use this one, TIOPS meeting, because I already did this before. So in case that it fails, it's okay because I can show you the other one. And here I will say my authentication, which is an organizational account. This one is Microsoft Entra account. I don't know if this will work because I didn't test. I already did with another database, but in case that it failed, I will show you the other one. First, this will connect. Let's see if it works. Otherwise, I will show you the other one. Because next, I need to choose the tables that I want to use. I click next, next, and that's it. And the mirror will start happening. I don't know if I put the name correctly. TIOPS meeting. TIOPS meeting. I will see. Otherwise, I will show you the other one. And I will show you the DMVs that you can use to troubleshoot some issues. One of the questions will be, hey, what are the requirements? Obviously, connectivity, first of all. For example, this one is my logical server. and I click on the networking part because this one is critical. Why is critical? Because if you choose this one here, all of the Azure services will be, able to connect to this particular logical server as long as they are in Azure. Otherwise, you can use what they are called private endpoints. In fact, I will show you later in a demo in a notebook how to use private endpoints within Fabric to connect using notebooks to Azure SQL MI. The thing though is that using mirroring to Azure SQL database through a virtual network or a private endpoint is in preview. So just to let you know. Okay, so here we were able to connect. Nice. Important thing. Two. The first one is every time that you see this warning, it means that it's not compatible with mirroring. So you will not be able to choose the table unless you fix that column problem, or this will be replicated without that column. So be careful with that. The second detail is this one. As you can see, any new tables added to the database will be added as long as you choose select all. Another thing. Otherwise, what you can do is just to say, hey, I want to mirror some of the tables, not all of them. Oops, sorry. I will choose to, so you can see how this works, which is very simple. I click connect. The destination on the one lake will be, or the mirrored database will be this one, and I will create it, and the process will start. This one is for Azure SQL database. So first of all, you need network connectivity, the click that I showed you before, just to say, hey, enable Azure services, blah, blah, blah. Second one, obviously you need access to the logical server. Third, you need just to enable here you will see the identity. The system identity must be enabled because during the process, Fabric will assign permission to the mirror database to the system identity within Azure SQL database. Be careful with that because that must be enabled. Otherwise, it will fail. And then the process will stop. And this one is a monitor. You can stop, you can resume, and you can see how the rows are moving between the source and the target. If I click refresh, the process starts, the initial snapshot will start, and then all the records will be moved from the Azure SQL DB to Fabric. It will take a couple of seconds. Here we have the two tables. And here you will see the number of rows being replicated. Right now, what is happening is reading the data in Azure SQL DB and then moving everything to the lakehouse. Well, to the one lake. Let me refresh. Well, in the meantime, I will show you that right now I have this one, and I will see in a few that there will be new items here being created because of this. So I will give this some time because it will take some time in order to move everything, create everything, etc., etc., etc. And then we will be able to see the monitor among other things. As you can see here right now, we have our mirror database, our semantic model, and the SQL endpoint that we are going to use in order to query the data. So I will click here. As you can see, it's very simple, as long as it works, obviously, because everything works in dev, QA, and all that stuff. We want to have the same in prod, but when we go to prod, something happens. We know that. We are technology people. We have been there, and I will query into SQL. Yeah, it's not ready. Let me see. Schemas. No, it's not there yet. Okay, it will take a couple of seconds just to move everything. GBO, tables. Yeah, it's not there. Let me see. Refresh. Down. Yes, it will take some time. Sorry for that, but because I want to show you the real one, that I am not lying to you, that I am doing the real stuff. Okay, in the meantime, I will show you the other one. So let's go to, I think that, because I have to, okay, I will use this one, because I have the Azure SQL MI, but you will see the same information. For example, this one is the order for Azure SQL database, as you can see here. And then I will query this in SQL. And I have, for example, a couple of tables that I am moving. Product description. And this one will help me to show you the next demo, which is modifying rows, that they are being replicated from one site to another one. Yes, sorry, I use select star. I know that I shouldn't use that, but come on, it's faster. Even though I have Copilot there that is helping me. But let me show you something that maybe you didn't see, since if you have a paid subscription, since we are talking about AI, I will do this. And I will show you something happen behind bars, which is this little guy that in Warehouse, when Copilot is available for everyone, you will be able to fix query errors automatically. And you will see the correction. See? And you have the database, the schema, and the table automatically, obviously. But we have huge store procedures, right, in order to fix errors and all that stuff. Anyway, so I query, but let's make a change. I will go to, and then I will show you the DMVs that you can use here. So here we have our table, the one that I showed you before. Yes, I need to change the database. Okay. Here we have the product description ID, Gonzalo test, blah, 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 but let's put, I don't know, David rules. Okay. Let me tell you that this one is not faster as in microseconds. It will take some time, but I will show you that this changed. See that it's not automatically. I am counting 1, 2, 3. Come on, be nice with us. What is happening behind bars is from the Azure SQL DB, the change feed is checking that record, moving to one lake, then moving to the SQL endpoint. That is why we are seeing this. But the idea is just to show you that the change will happen. And I think that I enabled product description, right? Did I? Product description, yes. Come on, magic. David rules. So the change is here. So it happened. It takes around 2 to 3 seconds, but it happens. These steps are the Azure SQL DB. Before moving forward, I will show you that there are some tables and short procs that you can use in order to troubleshoot. Because if something is happening and you don't know what, the thing is, okay, how can I troubleshoot this? And so here with this short proc, you can see the actual configuration. Since I have 3 tables, I have, as you can see here, we have 3 destinations, destination type, enable. Here you have the names of each of the tables, the table ID, among other things. State 4 means that it's working. This one is the most important state. So if the state is different than 4, you are having some issue. Snapshot, which is completed, a snapshot start, end time, row count, etc., etc., etc. Here you have all of the configuration information. Here, for example, you can track the changes. As you can see, session ID happening on the server itself, on the Azure SQL DB, status, LSNs, that you know what those are, currently, log records, etc., 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 the latency itself, the empty scan, which is reading the entire transaction log, etc., etc., etc. Last but not least, let's talk about errors. Hey, something is going on. The state is different than 4. What is the problem? Well, here on this particular DMV, you will see the problem or something that you need to fix. Here you will see the error state, error message, etc., etc., etc. The table, all the details that you will need in order to troubleshoot. Okay, this one is Azure SQL database. Let me see if the other one finishes. Let's see. Yes, it finishes, but let's refresh. As you can see, it finished. Nice. Okay, so now we have the end-to-end. Awesome. So now let's go to Azure SQL MI because it's something different than the Azure SQL DB. You know that by default, Azure SQL MI is built on a virtual network. So if you want to connect directly, you need to create your source service, such as an application, virtual machine, something that is on the same VNet, or if this is in a different VNet, you need to do something called peering in order to peer those VNets. So you have the connection between your Azure SQL MI and the source. Having said that, the thing though here is that by default, if you want to use mirror, you must enable, as of today, the public endpoint for data, meaning that you can connect from everywhere, as I am doing right now. This one is a management studio within my laptop. As you can see here, I am connected to my Azure SQL MI from outside Azure. And I am not using site-to-site VPN, ExpressRoute, etc., etc., etc. So, and also important thing that I am not lying you is the port number that I am using is 3342, which is the port that Azure SQL MI use for the public endpoint. So the integration to VNet again is in private preview for Azure SQL MI. As of now, what is available is the public endpoint. Otherwise, you can use, for example, notebooks that you can use private endpoints. I will show you in a few how to do that. Otherwise, if you want to use mirroring, you have this option. Having said all of that, let's go. So here I have my home. I will go to SQL Managed Synthesis, this one. And then you go to networking. And as you can see, I enable, oops, sorry, wrong key. Enable. And here I have the endpoint, the one that I am using for Management Studio. Be careful and pay attention to this detail because you need to open a new rule in order to connect from outside the Azure SQL MI for port 3342. So let me show you that. This one is the VNet and the subnet, as you can see. Sorry for the details, but if you want to configure this, you will have this roadblocks. I will click subnet. And as you can see here, I have my managed instance. And here we have the most important thing, which is security group. On the security group, you will be able to modify these rules. And so, as you can see here, I have the port open to any, obviously, because I want to break things. Because otherwise, you should add on the source your own IP. So you don't break anything. Anyway. So, and the last but not least, as I mentioned for Azure SQL DB, it is the exact same thing for Azure SQL MI. So you need to click identity and make sure that the system managed identity is there. I will show you this live. Let me go here. I will go to the mirror DB and manage permissions. And you will see that, for example, I have the Azure SQL DB logical server, and I have the read and write permissions, which is happening behind bars. The process itself will give permissions to the Azure SQL database, in this case, system identity, in order to, to see and to write information. Because basically we are reading data on the source and we are writing data Who is in charge of that? This system identity, which is not managed, but it was created, that particular permission, from the process itself. So it's the same. And I think that this one is the Azure SQL MI. Let me see, because I can't remember the name. Yes, this one is my managed instance. And so let me show you that I am having the exact same thing here, as you can see, again, which is the Azure SQL MI. Okay, having said that, we have the requirements. Another thing, though, is that, for example, every time that I am doing my my connection to the system itself, I am using my service organizational account, because I do have access to the, obviously because it's mine, to the workspace, but also I have access, to each of the sources. The thing is, when you configure the connection, the thing is, you can use, for example, SQL authentication itself, or you can use, I don't know, other type of accounts in order to connect to each of the sources, just in case. You can create, as I show you here, you can create the account, and you can alter or add the permissions needed for the account in case that you are following, the least privileged stuff, that you just assign the permission that the account needs. Well, you can do that. Having said that, is the exact same thing as I did before, but instead I am using, obviously, the Azure SQL Managed Instance, which is okay, because I already have it. Nice. But let me see the error, because I think that I have. Okay, 1 second. See. Managed Instance. Here is exactly the same thing, and I will do the exact same stuff. There will not be any different here. I will choose the source, I will choose the database, I will choose the table, next, bye-bye. The exact same thing. Let me see here. Here you will see the exact same thing, next, goodbye. The same mirror database, the same methodology. Obviously, on the monitor, as I showed you before, you will see different tables, but it's the same. And you can query the information as I did before. You can see information here. Obviously, I am replicating. I can't remember if I am replicating one table or multiple tables. No, one table. Nice. So it's the same. Nothing changed. Obviously, you can use Copilot here as well, because Copilot is everywhere. I don't know. Create a script to query the product table. And you can start asking this kind of question. Or for example, if you have multiple tables, you can ask the same, but hey, create this query, join to the other table, filter by, group by, aggregates, etc., etc. But this one is how it works here, as you can see. Or you can use this Copilot view, or you can use, the fixed error one that will help you in order to improve your code. Small thing about Copilot. This one is mirroring. I am not seeing questions. The data agent. Yeah, I can show you very quick. The data agent. So next, I will go to notebooks, because this will help you in Azure SQL MI. From the slide itself, we have pipelines, we have notebooks, we have data flows. It's up to you. In terms of decision, pipelines will help you just to copy everything, to transform, for example, using data flow, or using T-SQL if you want, or using notebooks and calling to the same flow to transform your data and finally to load it. I have different customers. Some of them, well, majority of them are extracting, loading, and then transforming the data using different layers. Maybe you heard about the medallion architecture with different layers. You will hear about bronze, silver, gold, but you can put the name that you want. Refined data, raw data. It's up to you. It's just a label, a name. But you can use these three options. Well, the pipeline, just to be honest, is the same if you are familiar with Azure Data Factory or Azure Synapse Service or pipelines. You will see that it's almost the same. The difference, for example, is that, hey, I want to migrate everything from Synapse or Data Factory to Fabric. Is there any next solution? The answer is no. There is a GitHub that you can use in order to move things from one side to another one, even though, as I mentioned before, the Synapse data movement, in fact, I saw it, that is enabled. You can do it exporting a DACPack and then moving the data. But the thing for the pipelines, there are some differences between them. Like, for example, in Synapse or Data Factory, you use link service to connect, but in Fabric, they are connections, for example. And so if you export the pipeline itself from Data Factory or Synapse, you will see that if you want to import that particular XML, you will get some errors like the one that I mentioned before. But there is a GitHub. You need to change this kind of things. But I think that soon there will be something next that you can use in order to move from one side to another one. Having said that, I will show you the pipeline. It's the same. This is nothing crazy, I would say. You can hear, for example, this one is the canvas that you can start adding on your flow different things. But well, for example, invoke pipeline, here you can use Copilot as well. Hey, summarize this flow, what it's doing, etc., etc. In my case, I am just copying data from a SQL Server in a VM. As you can see, my source is a SQL Server. Come on, thank you. SQL Server, it's a VM, AdventureWorks, you know that. And then I have the destination, which is here, my warehouse. I am using the parameters because I have multiple tables. And then I can schedule this, run this. I can add, for example, different tasks. It's a normal flow. If you're familiar with Synapse or Data Factory, it's the same. And you can start adding some stuff. As you can see, another copy, a data flow to transform, lookup to get some data, conditions, blah, blah, blah. You can call different services like Databricks, or you can call functions to transform data as well. Notifications just to ping in Teams to say, hey, this one failed, blah, blah. Or notebooks, the one that I'm going to show you in a few. And why? Because you can use private endpoints, which is amazing if you want to, secure the connection between the source and Fabric. Or also you can call other things. But this one is very simple. You can just click schedule if you want to schedule it. You can add trigger to run now, or you can click run, etc., etc. It's up to you. I will click run. Some of them will fail. Some of them will be successful. But you click OK, and that's it. And you can create multiple. I just create one, but you can create multiple, and you will see that you have different flows, etc., etc. In my case, I just create one, but it's up to you. As you can see, pipeline export is only one. It's a data pipeline, but you can create multiple. And then you can obviously schedule each of them. You can create your own workflow just to execute all of them based on metadata. It's up to you. Let's go to the notebooks that you can call from the pipeline itself. The notebooks, from my point of view, is my favorite because it allowed me to include, for example, libraries that doesn't exist in Fabric, which is amazing. That is called create an environment. For example, one of the announcements in Fabric conference was the ability to create an environment and being used by multiple workspaces. So maybe if you are from an engineering team and you want to say, hey, I want to use these libraries so everyone can use them, well, you can use an environment. But I want to show you how to execute notebooks against Azure SQL MI. Because as I mentioned before, Azure SQL MI is being, created using a virtual network. And if you want to connect directly, it will fail. I hope that this time the standard session, well, this one failed because there are some tables that, let me show you the error and the one successful. So you can see this. Dun, dun, dun. As you can see, some of them are failing, but some of them are succeeding. In my case, it's because some columns are not supported in Lakehouse. The data type, SQL hierarchy is not supported. And some data types are not supported, that is why. And here I have Copilot, obviously. So let's go to the notebooks. Basically, one of the good things is that I can enable something called private endpoint. Private endpoint today in Fabric works only for notebooks and data flows, if I am not wrong. So first, let me show you how you can configure the private endpoint. You click here, network security, and you will see that there will be, because I have, 10 minutes, an Azure SQL Managed Instance private endpoint. Basically, what you need to do is just to click create. Here you put a name, for example, David Rocks. And then you need what is called resource identifier that you can get directly. If I click overview, you will see that you can get this one starting from subscription up to the end. You will need this little guy. And then you get this one, if I am not wrong, because I already did this. So we succeeded, but I will try. David. Yes, it starts with subscription. I know. This one. Subscription, etc., blah, blah, blah. Resource group, my Azure SQL MI, and that's it. And then I have, which is a managed instance. I will put managed instance, and here I will put a message. Since I already have the private endpoint, I will show you what you are going to see in managed instance, which is you click here, private endpoint connections, here, and you will see that I have 3 because I tried this 3 times, sorry. But you will see your private endpoint here, you approve the private endpoint, and that's it. The connectivity is open between Azure SQL MI and Fabric. So now, if you use Notebook, you will be able to, for example, connect to managed instance, which is this case. I am using managed instance. I am not using 3342, which is the public endpoint. I am showing you the truth. Let me see. I will hope that this one starts quick, because sometimes it takes around 10 to 15 seconds. It takes like 2 minutes to start. Obviously, here you can use Copilot as well. And I will show you what I did ask. For example, I asked Copilot to create a query that tables this particular table, which is a managed instance. This one create me the script, so I copy, I paste. Then the first version showed me, the information not using a regular format. So I asked, hey, can you please modify the data frame so I see the table type, which is this one? It modified the code, and then I just copy and paste. But also I say, hey, but include me a join. As you can see here, automatically Copilot modify the code and showed me and get, obviously, the information and include one of the joins. And this will take more time. Okay, but I have 8 minutes. And then I execute the code and it works, as you can see here, because this one will take more time to start. And finally, you ask me to see data agent. I will show you very good. So I will go here. Here we have, let me sort by data agent. I have my data agent, which is the same, new item, create data agent. Obviously, you need to add your data source. In my case, it's my warehouse, and I am using these 4 tables. Obviously, if you want everybody to use this, you need to click publish. Don't forget this, just in case, because I have that problem in the past. And here you can add some prompt instructions that you can say, hey, obviously I can add here the schema of my data model, some things that you can add so the agent is more intelligent and you avoid, hallucinations. And here I did some questions like, hey, can you share the list of persons? They are on the person table, obviously. And list of addresses. And you can see here. But also one of the, or another announcement at Fabric Conference was that we can have the data agent within AI Foundry, as you can see here. I added this, well, I used the same, I am using an OpenAI model here in order to get the question, talk to the data agent so the data agent can get the data. Here I have my prompt, the same prompt that I'm using on the other side. And here I can ask question, share the list of person. I don't know, share the list of email addresses. And this, as you can see, will search on the knowledge, which is the Fabric agent, as you can see here. I will show you how to add this. And then it will answer with information because it's talking to the agent. Small thing, which is the most important at the end, is that you can click here, view code, and you will see the code that you can copy and paste to your application. And you have different languages. You have Python, you have C++, you have Java, depending on what you are doing on your application. But you can just copy and paste. Here you have all the information. You can use Key Vault, obviously, just to save the information. And that's it. And then you will see the result. Here is the list of email, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, it depends on your data model, the tables that you have, the constraints, among other things. But this will be, well, here I added my knowledge, which I already added before. But that's it.